I think my faith inspires my artistic drive. If I have to sum it up, in times where I'm like, I do feel burnt out, or I don't feel like motivated or energized to create something new. I honestly feel that everything I have in my life is a gift from God, and if I don't use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's almost like going to the gym when you don't want to. And so I think in times where I've felt completely burnt out, toasted, like I don't know what to do next, I might just go and be regurgitating something I already made. I feel like it's a muscle that I need to constantly exercise or regularly exercise. And if you don't, I feel like I'm sort of not doing. I'm not worshiping my Creator in the way He created me to worship Him, if that makes sense. When I do something, when I pour into a song or produce something, even when I didn't want to, I still feel like it's like a love offering. Like I'm saying, here, God, this is for you. Like I'm just like giving of myself out of a way that He created me to give. And that's, if I have to like just go to the tip of the pencil. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's all of that. But if I don't do it, I feel like I'm pulling back from something God created me to do. And I would do it for people, and I would do it for nobody. Do you know what I mean? Like I have that awareness that God's watching or He's listening.
It feels like you're saying you're less alive when you're not creating.
Yeah, I feel less alive, but I also feel like there are certain things, there's gifts and there's talents, so to speak, that I believe God places in each person. And everybody has different levels of everything, but ultimately God created us and He formed us. He knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb, and He created us to do good works. And music, and for me, and sharing and producing and creating in that way, I feel like is a gift He gave me, and I've watched it from the time I was very young multiply and grow. I remember wanting to be in places that I had never been before, and then just kept going and doing and singing and creating and just seeing how it multiplied. So I understand that. I've seen that multiplication in my own life. So I don't know, I don't have an aspiration of like where it could multiply from today, but I just know that I've always done it and I keep doing it, and it grows in some way. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
Well, it doesn't mean. I mean, that's why I said the thing about being alive is that Jesus said that He came that you may have life and have it to the full. And so you living out who He has created you to be, not doing that, that's why there's going to be a driving compulsion to create and to do this. And almost like you're cheating yourself, you're cheating your world around you, you're cheating your Creator.
Right.
If you're not living that out, there's maybe you can get into like there's a responsibility to steward that and all those things which are true, but I think that driving compulsion is the important thing to pay attention to, because there's all kinds of factors that come against the things that drive us, and we can even be told sometimes, like in a faith context, that if you're driven, that it's bad,
Sure,
or no good. That if it's something you want to do, it must be evil. And that's just when your heart is in rhythm with your Creator, you want to do the things that you were created to do, and they become energizing and life-giving. And when they're not there, you're missing.
Yeah, like I don't feel complete. I almost feel like I'm looking away. Is there a verse or something where it says, we turn away from Him. He never turns away from us. Like God's always looking at us, and we hide our face from Him, sort of like a kid might play hide and seek. Like come find, like they cover their eyes and they go, "You can't see me," type of thing. So sort of hiding. So I feel like there's some of that too. If I'm not living that out and creating and pouring out of myself of what's poured into me, that I'm kind of playing that hide and seek game with my Creator. Like, you can't see me, I can't see you, so you can't see me type of thing, if that makes sense. But I'm most fulfilled when I'm doing it because it's what I was created to do, not because I want to. Sharing it with people is part of it, but that's not the main goal. You know, it's like I need people to hear this. Like I want people to hear it, of course. I want people to experience, you know, what I've created in any capacity, because there's joy in sharing too. Like there's joy in giving. You know, if I was a carpenter, I'd probably want to build things and have people, you know, build a house and have people live in it or something like that. But I don't do that. I do this, and I want people to experience it and enjoy it in some way, you know.
I know I've spent, years of knowing that I should be writing, feeling compelled, feeling ready, feeling led to, but then internally silencing myself from doing it because there's something else I'm supposed to be doing, or, you know, it's not that, so what is it? And then I'll do those other things and maybe not even do those other things well because they were just an excuse, or it was like wanting those other things to feel the same way as releasing the creative valve in the way that I knew I should be, but it wasn't, and it didn't go right. And so in silencing myself in some regard, I can be exhausted. And really when I say silencing myself, like you were saying, it's like, no, God. And then now you're just living and wallowing in this false justification as to why you can't or why you won't, and then you try to camp out on other things, but they don't satisfy or they're not effective in the way that they should. And then it's like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And then procrastinating in that is a terrible feeling and exhaustion as well. So yeah, I've lived in that, in seasons of that, and it's like, okay, what am I doing?
Did you feel like
why am I doing that?
Did you feel like it was it something internal? Was it like a self-sabotage? I don't want to say sabotage, but was it like a self-sabotage, or was it because of the noise around you?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I mean, because it's difficult sometimes to own the self-sabotaging,
Sure.
and then point the finger at the things or whatever around you,
Right.
externally influencing you internally. But I realized, no, this has got to come out. Like this is, I'm suppressing something that God wants me to share. Like you said, like we're created and we're wired to be creative like he is, and to be recreational and to share his love in the ways that he's wired us to do that. And
Right.
so it's really hard when you know that to be true. Your faith is in that, you know, you have, it's a part of the voice God has given you to share good news, but then to suppress that, whatever the reason is not a good feeling, is not a good thing. It's, it never gets out, it never gets shared. You can't release that valve and be fulfilled. In being creative and in exercising and putting into practice creativity, I have felt my life more aligned with who he is and what he has for me. I have felt my life more fulfilled by him in being obedient, right? I mean, that applies to every aspect of our life. We're talking about creativity, we're talking about art. And I remember coming to a point where, like, who am I to not do that? You know, I have a friend really close in my life who's an amazing piano player. Amazing. He's been single his whole life. He's moved around a bit, you know, apartment here, house there, apartment here. No matter where he was, like, he'd be like, "Oh, come over. I want to show you something." Oh, I come over, and in his living room, he has a baby grand piano, like hardly any room for anything else. But he's never played for anybody, and he's never done anything with that. And he plays in his living room. and it's great, but it's limited. And I remember seeing that and be like, man, I don't want to be like that. It's not just for me to scratch an itch. It's for his use. It's for his purpose. And I want to please the heart of God. I don't want to run from him. So it's exhausting to run from him and to
it's
deny.
like tiring on both ends, but the
Yeah.
tiring that you want to feel tired because you're doing the thing you were created to do, not because you're running from the thing you were created to do, because it can be tiring on both sides.
Sure.
I remember you saying in an earlier episode that your creativity, and you said it in such a poignant way, I liked it. You said, I felt like my creativity was starving for the right opportunity. And I think you were talking about the context of Shiloh and writing with Bo and, the lyrics that Bo was writing. And you said that, and it really resonated, because I think the burnout and being tired from or avoiding doing the thing that you want to do, sometimes you said like your creativity was starving for the right moment and the right collaboration. Like you weren't just willing to just throw it out anywhere. You needed that moment.
Yeah. And that was, that is an encouragement from the Lord, because in wanting and giving a yes to him and being like, yes, I want to do this. I want to find the right way of doing this. I want it to be life-giving, and I want it to be shareable. And, but you know what it's like to be songwriting and be like, okay, I don't even know what to say. Do I just now write songs about how I've been running from God and making, and just write about my own experience and testament of being human and doing this?
Right.
And it was sometime after just that, where when Bo shared lyrics, those first couple of lines of whatever set of lyrics he was sharing provoked something in me. Like, oh,
Awaken.
that makes you think, and it's been like that ever since. So and that's an interesting thing from songwriting. A lot of songwriters will think that I have to, by myself, write all the lyrics, write all the music, arrange it all, record it all, do it all. And that's limited at best, right? What we can testify to is the beauty in collaborating and the joy of doing that together. That's a gift of the Lord too. He's stirring in you, stirring in you, stirring in me. And this is the expression of what he's stirring. Here it is. And so to be stirred by lyrics, no matter the song, and I think we were kind of naming some of those lyrics not too long ago, I don't smoke, but if I did, I'd roll my own. Or, how, why do you get to be the normal one? It's like, whoa, inaction is the best course of action, So some of these lines right out of the gate just had me like, ooh, what's that sound like in my soul? What's that sound like in my mind? Like, what needs to come out from that? And then that becomes like really fun, So I know the Lord knew what I needed.
I think
in regards to
we needed to
writing.
run. You needed people that could run with you.
Yeah,
And that you could run with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I needed that community. Needed those words and lyrics. I needed to value those lyrics that were being sung and be excited about sharing them. And so,
And not be in like a 3-legged race with somebody half your size who you're dragging along.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like when you tie yourself to something, it's because you're choosing. You're not bound by chains, but you're locking arms with people that you can run with.
and that's very different than
Yes.
some writing circles, right?
Correct.
Where it's like, okay, I want to write a song. All right, I'm going to go find a couple of people to help me write this song. And really, you're writing a song and you're just pulling from maybe already agreeable people and just to satisfy
people
what
that
you're
are trying
trying
to get a writing credit.
You're just trying to write a song and you're just trying to pull from others. That's not what this has been. This has been like, okay, here it is. Here's this piece. Here's this piece. Here's this piece. What could we do?
You just jumped into phase 2. So phase 1 is knowing that you are created in the image of the creator. So the first thing we know about the creator is he creates. And so we're made in his image. So we are created to create. So there is a stirring inside of us that if we're to be have integrity about who we are, then there is a creative expression. So if you're a carpenter, maybe you want to build houses, but even if you're not building houses, you're probably building birdhouses.
Right.
You're building something, or popsicle log cabins. You're going to build something because that's who you are and that's in you. And so being disciplined in that is a real key thing to say, oh, I'm not going to deny that. And just because it's not maybe the way I want it to be or the way I'd hoped it to be or the certain kind of expression or whatever, I'm still going to be disciplined to create because that's being true to my authentic self and who I am. Mm-hmm. So that's life, and that's important. And then the second thing is we weren't created to be alone. We were created to be in community. And so creativity and community is so important to be shared. And it doesn't mean that it has to be, shared with the masses on a big stage or, something like that, but to be shared with others, which is why sometimes the writing circle thing that you would mention is less than fulfilling because it's not so much a shared experience. And it's not really being done necessarily in community, but what we are getting to experience is very communal and utilizing our gifts in a way that others are in some ways validating, but validating in the sense of I value that.
Right.
I value what you bring to the table. I value what God's doing in you. I value how this allows me to do what God's doing in me. And that's so special. And that's where, that adds fuel to the creative fire because I'm not alone in that. And it's like, and you can ask for something too. Like, oh, can you, I can't do this, but can you do this? Mm-hmm. And so then your creative expression, it's exponential. It's not just 2 times or 3 times. It's more than that because of the creative energies and then what we're able to bring out of each other. And so I think that's a crucial part is creating in isolation is generally far less satisfying.
Yeah.
Than creating in community.
Which is nothing to, like, to your point, it's nothing to take lightly because in the sense of a lot of people do organize and try to structure communal songwriting and producing, and sometimes it becomes, and I've been in those rooms, so maybe I'm biased or I have, PTSD or whatever, but there's just a lot of times where, you're trying to muscle your shoulder into the huddle and you're trying to, what about this? And there's this like, everybody's gripped with like a sense of unsurety and are they going to like what I say? And then you get shot down and you're just trying to get a couple words in because you want your voice to be heard in this circle. And, and again, I think that comes from what the intended goal is, where Bo, you're talking about creating because we were created by a creative God to create, where I think the goal of some of the places that I've been in has been, how do we get placement? How do we reach the masses? How do we...
Well, so the difference is I'm trying to be somebody, so I'm going to create.
Right.
To get a name, to have validation, to
make a living, whatever.
Yeah, make money, whatever, to have somebody else say, oh, yeah, you have value or whatever. And the difference is saying, no, I'm going to create because that's who I am.
Right.
I already have identity, and my creator determined my identity, and I'm firm and secure in that and his love. And so that allows for like true vulnerability. But you crave that community then, not just like, oh, I made something. Will you look at my pretty thing? Do you like it? It's like, very early on, when we were the only 3 people hearing anything that we were doing, we were able to look at each other and go, we like this.
Yeah.
We enjoy this. So regardless of anything else, we created something that we really enjoy.
Yeah.
And so
we're not a monolith either. We have different opinions. We don't all like the same things. We have different.
We disagree.
Yeah. Right, try this, try that.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, if you only agree.
Yeah, I love when you disagree with me.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
It's helpful.
Luke's and I disagree even when we agree.
Yeah, we agree to agree. We disagree to agree.
Yeah.
It is kind of an interesting thing. Luke's and I love to fight, and conflict's not your big thing, which is fine. It's great. But
we wouldn't want all 3 be
I think
fighting.
both
I can
Lucas
roll
and
up. I can roll up
We
sleeves.
love conflict. So it's like, oh, you like conflict? I like conflict. Yeah, let's let's do
turn the
this.
kick up
Let's
louder.
conflict
Turn
for
it
the-
up louder. No, turn it up
And
louder.
then Dan comes in with Midnight Sliders, and we're like, oh yeah,
And then
okay.
the world's right again.
Yeah, we're eating some pastrami.
You guys need to eat something. Your conflict is
yeah, Dan,
you
we
know.
do need to eat. Okay,
Yeah.
we need to eat, Dan.
yeah.
Dan, cook us something.
And then go into round 2, round 3.
And then that's where you get the click, click, click in the track. 'Cause it's-
Yeah,
The oven wouldn't light. The pilot wouldn't light.
lighting.
Yeah, why give in to conflict when you can give in to pastrami sliders at 12 a.m.? I mean,
We had both.
yeah.
we had both.
I'll take
That's
conflict
true.
and sliders.
Yeah,
Conflict
and then
sliders,
round
great
3 of
punk
the
rock
argument.
band.
And then we wrote a song.
I knew really
Somewhere around 2:30 a.m. we wrote a song.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely 2:30, and the music's blasting. Thank God there's no neighbors. I knew fairly early on. I don't know a lot, but sometimes I know things that, and I don't know why I know them. But I had a strong before you and I got to know each other in a songwriting capacity and things like that. I just had this early on premonition that there was this album in you that you had never released. And I remember saying that to you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an album.
only
of
saying
me.
that to say
it was an album of me that Bo never
had to write.
Bo had to help.
Well, no, it was just I
It
knew
needed it.
Yeah,
It
I knew
needed
your
this.
voice and your songwriting.
Everyone.
It just like how you were just sharing. There was a season where in your life where you were sort of procrastinating and not doing it, but it also might be tied to the starvation of wanting to know, wanting to have the right platform and the right place. And,
Or the right thing to sing about.
Exactly.
What's valuable to say?
yeah, you weren't going to just you were never, didn't strike me that you were ever into regurgitating old versions of worship songs or trying to be in this world where you were trying to fit into CCM world, whatever that means. But at that time, contemporary Christian music and whatever was happening in that type of stuff. But it just always struck me that you had something deeper there. And I remember working on the first project and the ideas you were bringing to the table, and it was just it just felt like that had opened. Whatever it was just happening.
Yeah.
It was just happening, and we're not even talking about what happened with you, Bo. With maybe you were searching for a creative. I don't know. I would imagine, but
Yeah, always. I mean that. So writing, sometimes people talk to me about writing because they know I've written books and things like that. And a lot of times the conversation they'll go, "Oh, I want to know about that," and I was like, "Okay, why you ask?" And they'll say things like, "Well, because I'm thinking about writing a book," and I'm like, "Oh, cool. Well, what are you writing?" And they'll go, "Well, nothing yet, but I have a title," and that's how I generally know. Generally, I don't want to say always, but generally, that book's never getting written, and the title comes last, almost always. It's like.
naming a song before you write it.
Yeah, you kind of have you gotta see what it is before you can name it, kind of a thing. From a creative standpoint, I believe. But when you ask the question, well, what are you writing? And then they're not right. Writers write.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be great. It just writers write. So our original question that we were kind of wrestling through was, when you hit, burnout or, you're stuck or it's hard or you don't know what to do. I mean, I've developed a lot of tools for that, daily disciplines of writing, so I was writing, and those things might not ever be used or see the light of day. Cause that's the other thing. If I shared something I wrote, people want to know, well, what's that for? How are you going to monetize that or market it or use it? And it's it's for writing. It was for creation. It was to do that. And then also I think having some other creative outlets to help with that. So usually now before I even sit down to write anything, I play on the guitar for 15 to 30 minutes.
Oh wait, you play guitar?
I play on the guitar.
Play on the guitar. Lay it flat, tappity tap.
More of that.
But that just to unlock some things
Yeah.
to
Get the juices flowing.
get into that kind of mode and that mindset and so sometimes we think, well, I'm not good at that, so it doesn't have value. It has great value, tremendous value. And so And then, or if I'm stuck with something, instead of just staring at a computer screen or a piece of paper, I go over to a different seat, change seats. Like that's,
Yeah.
you got to change your environment a little bit,
Change your vision.
pick up a guitar, and,
Vibe out.
play for 10, 15 minutes. And
Tap
then,
into that creative muscle.
yeah, and then go back and sit down and write some more. And so I think my point would just be that, creators create, but then whatever medium you're using and things like that, look for some other creative outlets that can help you just kind of tap into that creativity instead of thinking, well, it's not great. Like I don't play guitar like Dan, so therefore I shouldn't play guitar. I don't sing like you or can't produce like you, therefore I shouldn't sing or produce. I mean, like,
Right. Well, now we're into the comparison model.
We're
self-sabotaging based on what we think our ability level is, where it's like whatever you're given, you use it, and it is a muscle. And to your point of the discipline of doing it, that muscle will get strong. It will increase.
Yeah. Creators come create.
There was
real quick.
No, go for it. Yeah.
As you were talking about that, being in the practice of creating and developing discipline and rhythms of that, I just want to go out. I just want to go back to, I would say, 13 years ago of the almost 15 that we've been working together. So I was here for about a year or so after, and I remember this vividly, where you were talking about writing and what you're writing, and we were talking about sermons and all this sermon series, and you're like, you know how many sermon series that I've written that will never see the light of day? And to me, it was like, well, why would you be writing it if you wouldn't be looking to share it? Why would you put together a sermon series and messages and all this stuff and not have, a plan to share that? And you're like, in the most Bo way, he's like, oh, I have volumes of things that I've written that will never see the light of day.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I'm like, well, why? He's like, because it's not all meant to be out there yet. And it's like, it may just be for me. It may be to fuel what is to come. It may not be for any, Yep. And I was just like, wow, that really is a practice of creating and being in rhythms,
Yep.
of utilizing or flexing those muscles. And you're like, oh yeah, I mean, and before you had the name of the book or the name of, or the whole storyline or anything, you're like, oh yeah. When we were talking that day, you had said, years ago, I have this, I came up with this character, named Shiloh Battles, and you didn't have a whole lot to say about it because you hadn't written a whole lot about it, but I knew that it was there 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just still, I dabble in it here and there and kind of get there going. And then here we are, and Shiloh Battles
Years later.
is
you gotta
is
let
a
that
thing.
simmer a little
Gotta
bit.
It simmered for 25 years.
That's
No.
a bone broth. You don't just,
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been simmering, but I would venture to say that if
was
we've
20
been,
years.
yeah, I was going to say like almost 20 years. That's crazy. And that is patience. Yet all along the way, what I know of you is that you wouldn't feel like it's being suppressed because it wasn't shared. It was you were already being obedient in writing, and all of those volumes of sermons and everything. Those
going to
aren't
the
useless.
gym.
They're not useless. They're not wasted.
No.
If anything, it's out of obedience and waiting in due time for its time, if there's a time for it, And yeah, that's what I remember. That's been a great example of like, you've just got to be in the practice of writing. Like whenever someone's come to me and said, hey, let's write a song, I'd be like, what, are you in the practice of writing a song? Do you write? Oh yeah, I write. Like, what have
Sing
you
me
written?
something
Well, I
you've
haven't
done.
done it. And it's just like,
What are you working on right now?
yeah, exactly.
Well, nothing. I was trying to get right with you. It's like, oh, you're not ready.
I want to live that August Rush life. You know what I mean? Do you remember August Rush, the movie?
The little kid with the
little
guitar.
kid who was just like, every sound on the streets of the city were
was
just like,
inspiring,
it was it was a tapestry, a composition being made, and you're just living in this.
Do you guys remember there was so, I didn't even see it in the moment, but now we're talking about it, and I'm going back to we were recording like Victims and Villains, and we're recording Progress, and we were in the bedroom. It's no bigger than the room we're in now. and there was a bed and a bureau, and I have got the gear up, and Dan's got the mic, and it was like there was so much creative life in that room. Remember, Bo was like sitting in the corner, and now he had already written all the lyrics, and we were now in this mode of producing music and vocals, and then we come out of the headphones and we go into the speakers and we play it, and Bo's like, yeah, more of that, and then we go back in the headphones, and he's sitting there, and he wrote like a year of sermons in a couple day period. Like there was so much creative energy in that space that we would come out of the headphones and he'd be like, I got another sermon, and then boom, 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 boom. And then by the time we were done, he's like, I just wrote a whole year of sermons in the last 2 days while we were working on this music. And it was like creative electricity, like in that little room,
Yeah.
How do you buy that?